Hello there, this is Megan here with Core 3 Harmony and Wellness Services. I so very much appreciate you for listening in, chiming in, hearing what I have to say today. I first and foremost want to say thank you so much. And I have a heart full of gratitude for each and every one of the subscribers. If you are not a subscriber, please subscribe. It is our goal to go live every Monday for a little bit of time to share some insights because we here at Core 3, we build and develop content that is uplifting, inspiring, and informative. So please subscribe. And if you have any specific topics you want to hear us discuss or to talk about, please let us know. I am the creator and founder of Core 3 Harmony and Wellness Services. Here at Core 3, we offer services in 3 areas: music therapy, counseling, and coaching. We provide services in person as well as remotely, if you happen to not be close to our office location. Today, we're going to dive into, are you getting in your own way? Are you getting in your own way? In the therapy world, we call this self-sabotage. And so we're going to dive into ways in which we can stop that. So, if you have any questions, any inquiries, any interest in the services that we offer, please do reach out to us. We do offer a consultation, complimentary, no cost to you. It's very important here at Core 3 that we make sure we are a good fit for your specific needs, okay? So please reach out to us. You can give us a call, text us, you can email us, and let us know how we can get you scheduled so we can see if we are able to provide the support that you need at this time. All right. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. And we're going to take a look at how we can hold our own selves back from achieving those things in which we want to achieve. And for some of us, this could be something that has impacted our lives for a long time. And it's one of those things where having a counselor and or coach, depending on the specific needs that you have, you can have someone help you to start to recognize what that looks like for you and how that is holding you back and or blocking you from feeling that sense of, yeah, I'm moving forward. Okay. So we're going to dive into a few different discussions. I have my notes here in front of me. A little water. When I'm interacting with folks, self-sabotage has been something that has, of course, presented itself because when I'm working with someone, I'm often looking at what are the blockages, circumstances, situations, environment, others, or ourselves. And so when we come to the understanding that it is ourself that has presented many of the hurdles that in our life of our experience so far, it's really important to dive into how you can start to combat that and how you can start to turn that around, okay? So that you can become more self-sufficient and resilient, all right? Okay, so how can I stop procrastinating? Everyone procrastinates sometimes. But if you find that procrastination is a constant problem for you, it's time to make a few changes. So we're going to discuss a few tactics that you can use to help yourself stop the procrastination habit. Procrastination is definitely one of the huge, probably one of the biggest mountains that many people can find themselves facing in the arena of self-sabotage. All right, so how can I stop procrastinating? Divide up your tasks. Okay, often when we procrastinate, we feel that we are facing a massive task which we don't believe that we'll be able to finish. Put a stop to this thinking by breaking up the task into manageable pieces. For example, if you were supposed to clean your basement, resolve to clean one of the four corners each day instead of trying to tackle it all at once. This tactic can help make any task more manageable and less overwhelming. This is so true for me personally because I'm trying to tackle cleaning up and rearranging my garage, and I have got my eye on one corner of the garage that I'm going to start working on this weekend to start rearranging and reorganizing. If I look at the whole thing, I totally get overwhelmed. So this particular tactic is definitely key, very important, and useful. Make a deadline. Now is not the time to tell yourself you'll do something later. Instead, set a strict limit or timeline for yourself with sections of your goal having deadlines. This way, you know when you will be completing something. It may also help to have a small reward for yourself along the way. An example of this would be a student needing to write a 4-page paper, and for each page that the student completes, they would reward themselves with 15 minutes of phone time. So I have some clients that I work with that the social media can be such a time suck. And so this is a good way of looking at, okay, if I am completing what needs to be done, I can give myself the permission to spend X, Y, and Z amount of time on my social media. All right, here's another tactic in helping you to stop procrastinating is stop those common distractions. Usually as procrastinators, sometimes it can be difficult for the same reason each time. We'll notice we're procrastinating each time for a certain amount of time. Like, for example, when we are going to clean the kitchen, but then we just had to watch a new show instead. Or put a stop to this by eliminating common distractions or procrastination tactics for yourself. If the TV is a distraction, for example, maybe it's time to work in another room. All right. I'm trying to think of a personal one and I can give you another example. Gosh, I want to use the example of social media myself. I will notice that if I hold myself to looking at my social media stuff specific times during the day, that helps me. Because if I say, okay, at 3:00, I'm going to be checking out my Instagram feed. And I'm only going to be doing that from 3 to, I don't know, 3:30. I won't give myself any more time. Not that I spend that long, but if I find that I hold myself to a certain time each day, I do a lot better than just being very whimsical about it and doing it anywhere. And then I notice that will procrastinate me from taking care of other things. So I hope that's a good example. Spend time with motivated people. There's nothing like hanging out with someone motivated to boost your motivation. Find a friend or colleague whose motivation you admire, resolve and spend more time with them. Or get a buddy involved in your plans and decide to help keep each other motivated on a regular basis. Having an accountability partner, that's huge. That can be a big help. Either way, it can be much easier to stop procrastinating when you've got others around you accomplishing remarkable things. Okay? Discontinuing your procrastination habit can be extremely difficult, but it can be done just by changing some minor things in your life. Start by dividing up the task, making deadlines, and getting rid of most of your common distractions. Then surround yourself with people, positive people, that can help keep you motivated and keeping your eyes on the goal at hand. Okay? All right. So I wanted to touch base on a few things today. All right. So stopping yourself, avoiding the task that you've been putting off. Somewhat similar to our idea with procrastination, but I have a few more tactics and tips in here for you. Some of those you may have heard before. So we're gonna add a little bit of different flavoring to it, okay? When people put off tasks frequently, it's because they're making the task out to be something much bigger or much more serious in their minds than it is. So here's the thing. Think about perhaps seeing if this works for you. Stop avoiding the tasks that you've been putting off by not making it a big deal. Not making it a big deal. Tell yourself that the task isn't that big and put it back into proportion. It may help to develop a mantra to remind you that the task isn't so bad and repeat it to motivate yourself. So we're going to talk next. I'm going to give you a few tips on how to squash the negative self-talk. This is a particular way in which you can activate a behavior to squash that negative self-talk by motivating yourself to be like, okay, I can handle this. I've got this. If I plan this out, this won't seem as huge of a mountain to accomplish to me. Here's another tip for how you can stop avoiding the tasks that you've been putting off is focus on long-term gains. So when we procrastinate, it's often because we are focusing on the short-term annoyances, such as that you don't want to get off the couch right now, but instead it's time to focus on the long-term gains of what completing the task will do to benefit you. It may also help to visualize how you will feel after you've completed the task and all the benefits you will experience. Okay, another tip on how you can avoid putting the task off, and it's to break it up. If you are putting off a massive task, maybe because it just seems too big to handle all at once, and I had mentioned that beforehand. Sorry, as I'm reaching, let me turn off my other little sound thing. Breaking it down into smaller tasks. This can help it seem more manageable and doable so that we feel less overwhelmed and can conquer the task much easier than we ever could before. Another tip is we can set ourselves a deadline. If we constantly say, oh, I'm going to do this someday or when I have free time, we'll continue to put it off. It could be the time for you to make a schedule or set a deadline for yourself. Schedule time to complete each task that you need to get done or each part of more significant tasks that you broke down, as mentioned previously. And if you finish on time, consider rewarding yourself as motivation to keep you on task. Becoming and staying motivated can be very difficult, especially when it is a task that you do not necessarily want to do. But with a slight change of mindsets and breaking it down into more manageable pieces, you can accomplish anything. So set a deadline for your tasks and get started. So here we are already. at the end of January, as I'm recording this, or live, that is, being on live here. We are already at the end of the first month of the year. And already just taking stock, pulling back for a little bit, and just thinking, what have I accomplished within just this first month? Have I accomplished what I set out that I wanted to do in this first month? If not, take stock, pull back, and say, okay, how am I going to move forward from this point on and make next month, the next couple of weeks, different with what I want to accomplish and achieve. Okay, so give yourself time to pull back and say, hey, what has been done so far? What is it that I've done well? What can I do better moving forward? Okay, and do that each and every month. Or if you need to minimize it even more, do that like every week with what it is that you're hoping to accomplish and achieve. Okay. All right. So last but not least, we're going to take a look at the negative self-talk. All right. So we can get ourselves caught up in a vicious cycle. We've been talking down about ourselves, and that is what the negative self-talk does. It's just talking down about yourself. Every word in your mind points out your flaws and mistakes to where you think you're going to go crazy from listening to it if you haven't already. All right. Negative self-talk can be just insidious. It gets in your head from previous experiences and negative input also from people who don't always mean well and mean it for your best. So once it's there, once the negative information is there, the negative verbiage, it plays the same song on repeat, growing somehow worse with every retelling until you quit trying. Your dreams can stall, and you can find yourself doing very little at all. So what we need to do is to take our lives back and put an end to the negative self-talk. I know that this can be a lot easier said than done, so here's some tips. Find your calm. First of all, you can't combat anything when you're overly emotional and overly overwhelmed mentally. So when you find that you're in this space, become aware of it, pause. Find a quiet place and sit down. Take a few deep breaths if you need to. If you can, meditate or try a mindfulness exercise until you can reach a peaceful place internally. So what I often have people do is I have them do a breathing pattern, a de-escalation tool, something as simple as counting down, counting backwards as they exhale, and then entering in a positive statement about themselves or the situation. Okay. Take note of what you're thinking. Don't avoid the negative thought. Listen to it. What is it saying? Whose voice does it sound like? Okay, just don't avoid it. Become aware of it. Understand what it's saying and what is needed and required to minimize it. Dig into the roots of it. Now this is a place where you ask yourself, what does the thought represent? Where did it come from? Is this from an expectation that I put on myself at some point, or does it come from someone else entirely? Okay. And then once we do that, we can move into dropping the unreasonable expectation. Our expectations can become quite stressful. So, are we trying too hard to be perfect in some sort of regard? Is there a more reasonable expectation that I can have or I can put on myself in the place of this thought? So, become aware of what is the negative thought. How did it get there? What does it sound like? What do I need? And also, is this an unrealistic expectation I either have of myself or that has been placed on me? Then we step into turning it around. What is the positive counterpoint to this thought? For example, if you're worried about how bad you are with money, remind yourself of a time when you saved up for something you wanted, or think about a time when you paid off a debt and how good that felt. So in in my own words, I say, hey, this is keeping the receipts. Keeping the receipts, being mindful and aware of when you were able to accomplish a task, and be well in it and do well in it. Okay. Create a habit. If this thought is one which comes around often, what is the new thought you want to replace it with? How can you make this thought a habit? Consider this: the more you react in a new way to an old stimulus, the quicker a new habit is formed and the old reaction disappears. I'm going to say that again. The more you react in a new way to an old stimulus, the quicker a new habit is formed and the old reaction disappears. Okay. And last but not least, our tips for today in ending self-sabotage, specifically in regards to our negative self-talk, is simply stop. In the end, realize that the only way to get rid of the negative thought is to consciously put a halt to it. Once you've gone through all of the steps and tactics mentioned, tell yourself to stop when the idea comes up again and keep telling it to stop until it goes away completely. Please realize that you do not have to listen to negativity, but sometimes it becomes so firmly entrenched that we might have trouble dislodging ourselves from it. When this happens, don't be afraid to ask for help. Talking to a trusted friend or a counselor can help lay this negative chatter to rest once and for all. Okay? So, today we have covered ways to combat self-sabotage. First, we dealt with, let me stop the procrastination. All right? Highlight of those really quick was work on, sorry, I got my sheet here. Work on dividing up the task, making a deadline, stop common distractions that seem to deter us and pull us off, spend time, get to know the motivated people in our lives, okay? And as we wrap up, we also talked about how do we stop avoiding the tasks that we've been putting off. We can also utilize the tool of not making it a big deal, focus on the long-term gains, break it up if we need to, setting ourselves a deadline. Last but not least, getting rid of that negative self-talk. We do this by the following tactics. Find a space of calm. Start to become aware of what we're thinking. Dig into the roots of where that came from and why it's there. Release ourselves from unreasonable expectations. Turn it around every time that negative thought comes up. Bring in a positive counterpoint to the thought. Create a good, healthy habit. because the more we react in a new way to an old stimulus, the quicker a new habit is formed and the old reaction disappears. And stop. Stop, and we keep repeating the same steps each and every time. All right. I hope that the information today on how to stop and end self sabotage you found very helpful. Also, hopefully you'll be able to see, am I truly getting in my own way? What does that look like? These tips will very much so help you move out your way so that you can move forward. All right. So with that, I'm going to wrap up our time. So very much so appreciate you. I am sending out nothing but, good vibes your way. And please do know this, that you so very much matter, oh so worthy, and oh so completely loved. Please know that you matter, you are worthy, and you are loved. If you have any questions or want to work with us here at Core 3, please reach out to us. Our contact information is in the description below. I so greatly appreciate you, and I look forward to coming at you again next Monday, same time, where we'll dive into a little bit more information to help guide you onto a more resilient lifestyle where you can live well, be well, and do well in every area. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.